If you're here because the rumor mill finally delivered on the one story everyone has been waiting for, then pull up a chair, because this is the one. This is the conversation the entire genre has been circling for months, and we are about to go all the way through it. It's coming. Sit down, hold on to something steady, and get genuinely scared, because it is coming. Right now, in this exact moment, the two most powerful rappers alive are about to cross paths, and I am not being dramatic, I am not exaggerating for clicks. I am telling you what the entire music industry is quietly whispering into each other's ears when the cameras are off, when the labels can't hear them, and when the group chats think nobody is listening. Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z, the king of the West Coast and the king of the East Coast. The man who currently runs the game and the man who has owned the game for 30 straight, uninterrupted years. And according to every single rumor crawling through A&R offices, through studio sessions, through the one streamer who physically cannot stop himself from talking, the two most powerful rappers in the entire world are about to stand on the same stage and change the industry forever. Certain people are shaking right now. Certain self-appointed gatekeepers, certain grifters with microphone addictions and review channel obsessions, certain individuals who have built their entire financial lives on being adjacent to a version of relevance they never actually earned. Every single one of them is absolutely terrified of what is coming next. Because they know what this means. They understand the implications better than anybody, which is precisely why they are trying so hard to get out in front of it. They know that when these two forces finally collide on a public stage, the ground underneath everyone else's feet is going to crack wide open and swallow them whole. If you already know what's telling us this and what it could actually mean, then you know exactly what to do. Hit that like, hit subscribe, and just settle in with me for a minute, because we are about to unpack something enormous. 3 names. Kendrick Lamar, Jay-Z, and Drake. Rank them. Go ahead, rank them right now in your head before I say another word. And if Drake ends up in dead last, good, you're in exactly the right place, and you haven't missed a single thing. If you haven't already, seriously, leave that like right now, because we are about to walk through what will most likely be the single defining hip-hop moment of this entire decade, and you are going to want to remember exactly where you were when you first heard it. So, what is actually telling us that Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z are finally coming together after all this speculation, all these rumors, all these years of fans pleading with the universe to make it happen? Nothing less than a report from the one person who should be the least happy about it on the entire planet. The man who has made a career out of eating other people's leftovers and describing them as if he cooked them himself. DJ Akademiks. That name alone should tell you exactly how serious this situation is. Because if the loudest, most frantic voice in the entire everything is actually fine for the other guy camp is the one leaking that this is happening, then trust me when I tell you it is happening. When the person who benefits most from pretending a story isn't real is the person forced to admit it out loud, you are no longer looking at a rumor. You are looking at a confession. On one of his streams, where he goes through all the same tired, recycled grifts we have all watched him perform roughly 1,000 times, Akademiks went ahead and said the thing out loud. And he said it in fear. Understand that framing, because it matters. In fear of Jay-Z's plans, in fear of Jay-Z's new shows, in fear of what could be coming with Kendrick Lamar, he let something slip that he should have kept buried beneath every layer of nervous throat-clearing he could summon. He said he had heard that one of the ways this entire thing might go down, and get ready, because this is where it veers into genuinely absurd territory, is tied to October 24th, Drake's birthday. And then he floated this honestly pathetic little theory that if Drake bites the cheese, if Drake does the one thing Drake has a documented tendency to do when he feels cornered, then maybe, just maybe, you have Jay-Z walking out on stage in Los Angeles with a fresh set of braids, and Kendrick Lamar performing, not like us, right there in the city that literally birthed it. That is the level of fear we are dealing with here. That is the desperate, frantic, internal math happening inside the other guy's entire ecosystem right now. They are so scared of this moment, so paralyzed by the thought of it, that they have started constructing elaborate revenge fantasies about it before the event even has a confirmed lineup attached to it. That is not confidence. That is terror with a paywall. Let me save all of you some time right now, because I actually sat through the entire thing so you don't have to. DJ Akademiks admitted, in his own words, that he has not heard the album is done. He has not heard that it's ready to go out. He has not heard that they're waiting on a partner. He was very careful, very deliberate, to walk all of those specifics back while he was saying everything around them out loud. But he did say, and this is the line that carries the entire story on its back, that he has heard about an album. He has heard about a Jay-Z album. And then he tried to play it off like it's this casual little aside, like it's just the fifth fact in a list of 10, when in reality it is the entire story and he knows it. He even floated that maybe he himself might push the album back a little bit, which is him doing his single favorite trick in the entire world, inserting himself into a narrative that was never about him in the first place. Because the actual reality of what is coming terrifies him so completely that he would rather pretend to have a hand in it than stand outside it. The reality is this. Jay-Z has an album. We essentially already know this. Pharrell Williams said it. And when Pharrell Williams says something about a Jay-Z album, you are looking at about as credible a source as this genre is ever going to produce. Pharrell is not an anonymous blog commenter firing off takes from a burner account. Pharrell is not someone reaching for engagement. Pharrell is the person who has actually been in the room. He has been in the studio with the man. He has sat across from the person who makes these decisions. So what Akademiks is genuinely telling us underneath all the nervous laughter, underneath all the stammering and the nah wait, and the performative throat clearing, is that he knows the album is real. He knows Jay-Z's rollout is real. And he is trying desperately to get out in front of a cultural event that is going to render his entire lane of commentary completely obsolete overnight. That is the whole thing. Strip away the jokes and the deflections and what you are left with is a man racing to frame a story before the story frames him. Now here's the thing, and I need every single one of you to lock in on this next part, because it explains literally everything about why these people are panicking. Jay-Z is playing SoFi Stadium. Not a theater. Not a club. Not some festival slot where 100 other names dilute the moment and nobody remembers who closed the main stage. SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. The single biggest indoor-outdoor venue in the entire United States. 60,000+ seats. A building explicitly constructed to host the absolute apex of what a live performer can do in the modern era. This is a venue built for Super Bowls and WrestleManias, and the kind of events that define a year. Kendrick Lamar has played there. Kanye has played there, and I need everyone to be precise with me here, because this distinction matters far more than these fragile commentators want you to notice, because noticing it is what exposes their entire operation. Travis Scott has played there. Multiple rappers across multiple generations have walked into that building and sold it all the way out. And the one person who cannot get his name on that marquee, the one person who has never once headline sold a stadium of that magnitude in the way that actually counts, is the very person these commentators have spent years propping up as the biggest star alive. I'm not saying that to be cruel. I'm not even saying it to be provocative. I'm saying it because it is a verifiable fact that you can look up in approximately 30 seconds. Drake is simply not a stadium-level performer the way these other artists are, and pointing that out is not hate, it is not agenda, it is just accurate reporting that a lot of people have spent a lot of money trying to make you forget. And at this exact venue, the one Drake can never get into, the one that stands as a physical monument to a tier of stardom he has never actually reached, DJ Akademiks is now completely gripped by the possibility that this is where the entire Jay-Z album rollout detonates. He's talking about a team-up. He's talking about a collaboration so significant that it literally reorders the architecture of the entire industry. And here's the part that matters most. The reason he is talking about it before anybody else is not because he has superior sources. It is because he is scared of it. Fear is the source. Panic is the assignment. Everything else is decoration. Because here is where these absolute sad psychos take this entire theory slop to a new level of delusion, and I need you to understand how deep the cope actually runs. They have latched onto the fact that one of the Los Angeles shows falls on October 24th, which happens to be Drake's birthday. But it is not just any birthday. It is Drake's 40th birthday. The big one. The milestone. The kind of birthday that an entire camp would normally spend months preparing content around, planning events around, engineering a whole rollout to milk every last drop of engagement out of. And the theory that these people are now actively floating with a straight face is that Jay-Z is going to use his own massive, culture-defining, 30-year anniversary slate of shows as some kind of revenge weapon. That Jay-Z is going to bring out Kendrick Lamar on this specific night, on this specific date, specifically to spite Drake. Do you understand how genuinely insane that framing is? That a man who built a 30-year empire from scratch, a man who has never once in his entire career needed to borrow relevance from a single living human being, would plan the crown jewel of his anniversary docket around the calendar of a person who isn't even on his radar? That level of main character fantasy tells you literally everything you need to know. These people are not reporting a story. They are coping with a story. They are retreating into a fantasy because the reality is too uncomfortable to sit inside of. And the fact that they're trying to make Drake's birthday the centerpiece of what is going to be one of the most significant hip-hop moments in years, Jay-Z doing a stadium show in one of the biggest cities on the face of the earth, with special guests that are going to melt the internet for a week straight, just proves how absolutely horrified they are about what is coming next. You do not try to center your own guy inside a story that has nothing to do with him unless you are terrified of what that story looks like without him in it. Because let's actually break down what is about to happen here, free of all the nonsense, free of all the cope, free of the desperate need to make everything about one person. Jay-Z is playing SoFi Stadium on October 23rd and October 24th. 2 nights. 2 sold-out stadium nights in the biggest market in the country. And something major is going to happen. That is not a prediction anymore. That is a certainty. We already saw the New York shows. We already saw who that man brought out on stage when the lights came up and the entire culture was watching. Beyoncé, who I am sure will be with him again, because where that man goes, that family goes, and that has been true for longer than a lot of you have been alive. Rihanna came out. Fat Joe came out. Jadakiss came out. The Clips came out. Pharrell came out. Usher came out. Jermaine Dupri came out. The list does not end, it just keeps stacking, because that is the entire point of a Jay-Z show, and it always has been. HOV had everyone there. Every generation, every coast, every lane of this genre, standing shoulder to shoulder on the same stage, because they all understand what that man represents. Because that is what his entire career has been. That is what 30 years of being the center of hip-hop's gravity actually looks like up close. Jay-Z has never been a rapper who simply raps. He has always been the person standing at the epicenter of this entire beautiful, chaotic, sprawling culture we call hip-hop. So you already know, not hope, but know, with a certainty that comes from watching 3 decades of identical behavior, that he is going to do something just as monumental for Los Angeles. This is the nature of what he does. This is not speculation. This is pattern recognition stretched across 30 consecutive years of the exact same thing happening at the exact same level. And I am certain that this is exactly what DJ Akademiks is already hearing about, and it is exactly why he is trying to get ahead of it with this clumsy, panicked, transparent framing. You don't get ahead of a story you aren't terrified of. You just let it happen and comment after. And think about what those New York shows actually proved, because it is the single most important data point in this entire story. When Jay-Z announced that first run, the skeptics came out of the woodwork as they always do, wondering out loud whether a 30-year veteran still had the pull to fill a stadium on his own terms. The answer arrived in a way that silenced the whole room. Those shows sold out so quickly and carried such an impossible concentration of star power in their guest appearances that the only remaining question was not whether Jay-Z still mattered, but whether there was any single figure left in the genre who could match the spectacle he was orchestrating. And then he did the thing that only someone with genuine leverage can do. He added another night. He did not settle for the one big moment and retreat. He expanded to meet the demand, because the demand was real and he knew it. That is what separates someone who is staging an event from someone who is living inside a legacy. That is what 30 years of being undeniable actually buys you, not just the right to headline, but the freedom to headline again, and again, and again, until the entire calendar bends around you. So when the Los Angeles run landed on the books, and when a second Los Angeles night was announced almost immediately after the first one sold through, anyone with a functioning understanding of this industry knew exactly what they were looking at. This is not a tour in the ordinary sense of the word. This is a statement, being delivered one sold-out stadium at a time. So let's talk about what Jay-Z actually wants on that Los Angeles stage, because this is where the whole thing gets genuinely thrilling, and where I want every single one of you to fully understand the stakes. There are 3 people Jay-Z wants at this show more than anybody else on the planet. 3 people who are absolutely pivotal to his career, to his legacy, and to the entire West Coast rap scene that this stadium sits in the middle of. And 2 of those names are names you already know by heart, names that have been baked into the culture so deeply that their mere presence on a stage sends any room into a frenzy. Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre. I think we are going to see at least one of them walk out on that stage, and I think, genuinely, I believe this in my bones, and I have thought about it far more than is probably healthy. We are going to watch Jay-Z perform Still D.R.E. live in Los Angeles. And if you're like DJ Akademiks, you wouldn't understand why that matters or why it would be one of the biggest moments in the modern history of the genre. But you are not like him, so I am going to explain it to you in the plainest possible terms, because it is a fact that a shocking number of people still do not know. Jay-Z wrote Still D.R.E. That is a record he made for Dre and Snoop Dogg. The song that defined a coast. The song that defined an era. The song that became the most famous West Coast anthem ever recorded. The sound of an entire city, the sound of an entire region, the sound of an entire generation of people who had never once set foot in Los Angeles, but knew every single word. Was written by a kid from the Marcy Projects in Brooklyn, New York. Let that sit in your chest for a second. The most iconic West Coast record in the history of the genre came out of the mind of an East Coast kid. And to see that man perform that record in Los Angeles, in SoFi Stadium, with the two legends who made it famous standing right beside him, that is not a concert moment. That is a historical artifact being assembled in real time, in front of your eyes, and you are alive to watch it happen. There has never been a more perfect, more fitting, more poetically complete occasion for this to go down. It is the kind of moment that hip-hop historians are going to write entire chapters about. And I genuinely, sincerely believe we are about to witness it. But even greater than that, and this is the part that takes the entire thing from incredible concert to a once-in-a-generation cultural event that people are still going to be talking about in 20 years, is the man who currently runs everything. The king of Los Angeles. The king of the West Coast. The person who has spent the last 2 years systematically redefining what a rap superstar is even supposed to look like in this era. Kendrick Lamar. And here's the thing that makes this so enormous. Akademiks is saying it out loud himself. He is the one admitting he's hearing rumblings, and the reason he's hearing rumblings is because everyone is hearing rumblings. The entire industry is hearing rumblings. This is not a secret being whispered in one corner. This is a frequency being broadcast across every corner at once. When you put the king of rap together with the king of the East Coast, when the king of the West Coast graces the stage with arguably the other greatest rapper of all time, and let's be completely honest, because there is no point being humble about facts, Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z are both already carved into everybody's Mount Rushmore of this genre. They are both already on the short list of names that come up whenever anyone anywhere asks who the greatest to ever do it is. You are not watching a feature. You are not watching a guest appearance. You are watching two peaks of a mountain range finally meet in the open air. And the reason these other people are absolutely losing their minds about it is not because they are confused about what it means. It is precisely the opposite. They are losing their minds because they understand the implications perfectly. They understand what it means for the culture to see two of the greatest artists who have ever touched a microphone standing on the same stage, sharing each other's greatness, appreciating each other's legacy, and demonstrating to the entire world what hip-hop actually looks like when its biggest and most important figures genuinely respect one another. That is the thing they cannot survive, and that is the thing that is coming. And if you want to understand exactly why this connection carries so much weight, go back and look at the trail these two have already left, because it is not short and it is not faint. Jay-Z, through Rock Nation and his role in shaping who headlines the biggest cultural stages in the country, has already placed Kendrick Lamar at the center of the single most watched performance in American television history. When the Super Bowl needed a halftime show that could carry the weight of an entire genre on its shoulders, when the NFL needed an artist who could command that stage in a way that felt like a coronation rather than a booking, the call went to Kendrick Lamar. And the man who has spent years steering that exact stage, the man whose organization has been the connective tissue between hip-hop and the biggest mainstream platforms in the country, made sure that call was answered the right way. That was not a coincidence, and it was never treated like one inside the industry. That was a signal. It was the most powerful tastemaker alive saying, with actions rather than words, that this is the artist who represents the future of the culture. So when you hear rumblings now about them sharing a stage, you are not hearing about two strangers being introduced for the first time. You are hearing about the next logical step in a relationship that has been building in public, one deliberate move at a time, for years. That is why the people who should be most worried are already worried. They watched the public signals stack up the same way you did, and they understood what those signals were adding up to long before the rest of us let ourselves believe it. And this is the part I want every single one of you to really sit with, because it is the reason all of this matters far beyond a single stadium show on a single weekend. The collaboration between Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z is overdue. It is so overdue that it almost defies logic when you actually stop and think about it. These two men have been moving through similar circles for well over a decade now. They have walked similar journeys in ways that are at once completely distinct and completely parallel. The Compton kid who turned poetry into prophecy, and the Brooklyn kid who turned the corner into an empire. They have shared stages. They have shared associates. They have shared an entire label ecosystem through Rock Nation and everything that orbits around it. And yet, somehow, impossibly, they have never truly made a record together the way that two artists of this magnitude should have. Think about what Kendrick Lamar and Beyoncé have given us over the years. Record after record after record. A genuine, repeated, ongoing creative partnership. And the last time they linked was the America Has a Problem remix back in 2023, where Kendrick Lamar was already dropping the kind of coded bars that, looking back with everything we now know, were clearly the opening salvos of the entire war he was about to wage against Drake the following year. He was standing on the Carter family platform, rhyming over a Beyoncé beat and telegraphing a conflict that the rest of the industry was somehow too slow to read in real time. That is how tight Kendrick Lamar is with one half of the most powerful couple in the history of music. Now consider what it means that the other half of that couple is about to stand beside him on a stadium stage. It is not a stretch. It is not even a leap. It is an inevitability that has simply taken longer than it should have. And the only genuinely surprising thing about any of it is how long it took. Think for a moment about the specific shape of the relationship that already exists between these two men, because it is the thing that makes this entire story feel less like a rumor and more like a clock finally striking. Kendrick Lamar has been operating inside Jay-Z's orbit, in one form or another, since the very beginning of his rise. The cosigns have been there. The mutual respect has been demonstrated in public and in private. The shared collaborators, the producers, the engineers, the executives, the lawyers, would form a list long enough to fill an entire chart of the industry's most connected names. And time after time, whenever anyone has asked whether the two of them might one day actually work together on something real, the response from every corner has been the same. It is not a question of if, but of when. That is a strange thing to observe in a genre built on rivalry and ego, and it tells you something important about the nature of what we are watching. This is not two competitors circling each other. This is two members of the same lineage, separated by a generation, finally reaching the moment where the torch passing stops being symbolic and becomes literal. When Jay-Z steps onto a stage in a city that Kendrick Lamar now owns outright, and when the two of them occupy that stage at the same time, it is not going to feel like a stunt. It is going to feel like the completion of something that the culture has been waiting on for a very long time. What we are going to see, and I want everyone to really, fully understand how rare this is, how special this is, how little this has to do with the ordinary churn of the industry, is a real song. A genuine, deliberate, fully intentional collaboration between Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z. Not a remix slapped together to pad out a single cycle. Not a throwaway verse traded as a favor. The last time these two touched a record together was the Bitch, Don't Kill My Vibe remix, and that was more than a decade ago. Let that fully sink in. More than a decade. Two generational icons, both of whom have been at their absolute creative peaks at different moments in that stretch, both of whom are perfectly, demonstrably capable of making a timeless record together. And the last time they actually collaborated, the entire genre was living in a completely different chapter of its own history. This time, it is not going to be a remix. This time, we are going to see Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z physically sit in a studio together, trade ideas, build a cohesive record from the ground up, and make a statement that is going to terrify everybody else currently occupying space in the game. That is the part these commentators are freaking out about before they will even admit it to themselves. Because they can handle a great performance. A great performance is a one-night event, a thing they can clip and react to and then move past by the following morning. What they cannot handle is two titans linking arms and walking into the same room with a shared pen and a shared intention. Because a Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z collaboration is not just a song. It is a complete recentering of the entire gravitational pull of the culture, and everyone who has spent years coasting on being merely adjacent to greatness understands, with a sudden and sickening clarity, that when the two biggest names in the genre actually unite, the entire middle of the pack gets squeezed out of the conversation entirely. That is what is being prepared right now. And that is what has a certain segment of this industry up at night. So here is where we land, and I want to be very clear about what I am actually predicting. Because I refuse to be lumped in with the theory slot merchants and the birthday conspiracy people who are just trying to make themselves feel better about a story they can't control. I believe Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z are going to share that SoFi Stadium stage. I believe it with a level of confidence I almost never have about anything in this genre, where certainty is usually a sign that someone is lying to you. Circle it. Circle October 24th on your calendar right now, because that is the night everything is pointing toward, and you are going to want to be able to say you saw it coming. And I believe, This is the bigger one. The one that actually matters for the long term, that we are going to get an actual studio collaboration between the two of them in the near future. A real, original record. Everything is all but confirming it at this point. Pharrell has hinted at the album out loud, in public, on the record. Akademiks has admitted, through his teeth, that he has heard about the album. Jay-Z has a 30-year anniversary to celebrate, and there is no more fitting, more symbolically complete way to mark 3 decades at the absolute top than by standing next to the man who is carrying the torch forward into the next era. When it happens, and it is going to happen, the entire rap game is going to be in shambles. Everybody in that fragile little ecosystem, everyone who has built a personality around a version of events that is about to be shattered, is going to get so emotional, so reactive, so completely incapable of processing it, that nobody is even going to know how to respond. And the rest of us, the people who actually, genuinely love this thing called hip-hop, are going to get to sit back and watch 2 of the greatest human beings to ever hold a microphone do the thing they were put on this earth to do, together, on the biggest stage in the country. That is not a small thing. That is the entire thing. And do not, for a single second, underestimate what a performance of Not Like Us on that particular stage would actually signal. That song was not just a record. It was the loudest cultural detonation this genre has produced in a generation, a moment that bent the entire conversation around it for months on end, and it was born in and about Los Angeles. It is the song that turned a beef into a defining event, the song that made an entire city feel seen and an entire industry feel rearranged. If Kendrick Lamar performs that record in SoFi Stadium, in LA, with Jay-Z standing in the building, or, if the rumors turn out to be even half true, standing beside him, then you are watching 2 things collapse into one. You are watching the most important West Coast record of the modern era performed in the most important West Coast venue, on a night that already carries the weight of a 30-year anniversary, in front of an audience that understands exactly what they are witnessing. The people who are terrified of this moment are terrified for a reason that has very little to do with any single artist's feelings and everything to do with what the image itself communicates. It communicates that the center of the culture has moved, that the old king and the new king are aligned, and that an entire lane of commentary built on division is about to find itself with nothing left to comment on. That is the real fear. That is the real stakes. And that is why this is not, and will never be, just another concert rumor. There is also the album to contend with, and I would be doing everyone a disservice if I let that thread go without pulling on it a little harder, because it is the part of this story that changes everything when you take it seriously. Jay-Z has not released a full-length project in a long time by his own imperial standards. The wait has been long enough, and the hints have been pointed enough, that the expectation around a new Jay-Z album has become its own gravitational force inside the industry. Pharrell Williams, the man who has produced some of the most important music of the last 3 decades, the man whose name on a track list is its own certificate of significance, has gone out of his way to fan those flames in public. That is not a small thing. Pharrell does not waste his credibility on vague teases. When he moves the way he has been moving, when he lets it be known that something is stirring in that camp, the people who understand the game take it as seriously as a press release. And now Akademiks, of all people, is on the record admitting he has heard about that same album. Read that sentence twice. The most hostile, most agenda-driven voice in the entire conversation is the one confirming the thing that he would most like to not be true, because confirming it works against everything he has spent years trying to prop up. That is what real information looks like colliding with a real agenda. The album exists, the rollout is already in motion, and the Los Angeles Stadium shows are being positioned as the cornerstone of it. Everything after that is just the culture trying to catch its breath. So now that all of that is out on the table, I want to hear from you, and I mean that literally. I read every single comment, and I am genuinely curious where the whole room lands on this one. What are your thoughts on Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z finally coming together? What do you think this actually means for the rap game as a whole, not just for the 2 of them, but for the entire ecosystem that has to adjust around them? What does it mean for the music industry, for the entire ongoing conversation about what a rap superstar even is in 2026, now that the definition keeps getting rewritten by the same 2 names over and over again? And specifically, this is the part one most want to hear about. What does it mean for the Drake and Akademiks corner of all of this? The corner that is already melting down over a show that hasn't even happened yet, and an album that hasn't even been given a date? Leave your predictions down below. Do you think Kendrick Lamar and Jay-Z actually come out on that stage together on October 24th? Do you think we finally get a real studio collaboration between them, a proper, original, from the ground up record, and not another remix? Or do you think something else entirely is about to unfold that none of us are even seeing yet? Some move that's going to blindside the whole industry? I want to know exactly where you stand, because when this thing actually pops off, I want us all to have been on the record about it together. And if you made it to this point in the video, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching. You are the entire reason this channel exists, and I appreciate every single one of you far more than I could ever properly put into words. Hit that like, hit subscribe, and hype this video up, because when this moment actually goes down, I want to make sure every single one of you is right here watching it unfold with me in real time. And if you want to go even deeper into what's coming, I found something you are absolutely going to want to see. A brand new Kendrick Lamar leak that I will show you exactly how to listen to and break down precisely what it is and what it actually means for everything we just talked about. Check out the video on your end screen right now. Until next time, keep your ears open, keep your timelines clean, and do not let anybody tell you this isn't happening. Because trust me on this one, it is coming. And when it finally lands, the only people left in shock will be the ones who spent this entire stretch insisting it never would. Write the date down, mark the calendar, and get ready, because this one is about to rearrange everything you thought you knew about where the culture actually lives now.